There's a silent thief that walks among us. It doesn't come with noise or violence. It doesn't knock. It seeps. It steals through glances, through scrolls, through conversations where your eyes flicker from your life to theirs. It doesn't take your money. It takes something far more dangerous, your focus, your self-worth, your destiny. That thief is comparison. And if you don't face it, it will bury your greatness before the world ever sees it. You see, the moment you measure yourself by another's journey, you abandon your own. You dethrone your inner authority and crown someone else's timeline as your truth. And in that moment, not tomorrow, not next week, in that very moment, you lose power. You stop being the master of your fate and become the shadow of someone else's ambition. But here's the truth. You were never meant to be a copy. You were never born to echo someone else's voice. You were built, designed to be a singular force of nature. In comparison, it's the poison that dilutes that force. We've all felt it. Scrolling through lives curated to look effortless. Measuring our beginning against someone's highlight reel. Seeing them rise while we stumble. Watching them shine while we feel unseen. But let me ask you, what do you really see? You don't see the sleepless nights behind that success. You don't see the failures they buried. You don't see the wounds they healed in silence, the fears they never shared, the doubts they still carry. You see the moment, not the mountain. You see the result, not the resilience. And when you compare your chaos to their climax, you make a false god out of fiction. Andrew Carnegie didn't compare. He didn't ask, am I as educated as they are? Or am I as connected? He knew what he wanted. And he knew that comparing himself to others would only pull him away from the burning clarity within. So he built in silence. He worked in obscurity. And he rose not because he chased someone else's steps, but because he carved his own. Comparison is not just a distraction. It's a betrayal of your power, of your purpose, of your potential, because every second spent watching them is a second you didn't invest in you. Let me be clear. Success is not a race. It's not a ladder. It's a path. And that path was never meant to be walked in someone else's shoes. Your dreams are not late. Your vision is not broken. It's just unfolding at the speed of your soul. Look at the greats. Lincoln, Edison, Disney, Mandela. Not one of them stopped to measure themselves against the man next to them, because they knew that greatness is not about being better than someone else. It's about being braver than your doubt, bolder than your fear, more committed than your comparison. You think you're behind. You're not behind. You're just on a different timeline, your own timeline. And that timeline has its own rhythm, its own lesson, its own sacred fire that doesn't burn any brighter or dimmer based on what someone else is doing. The truth is, the minute you compare, you let go of the present. You abandon the now, and the now is all you will ever have. The now is where ideas are born, where courage is built, where action begins. But when your mind drifts to what they're doing, you miss the moment that could change everything. You must reclaim your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Your destiny doesn't care who's ahead. It only cares if you're awake, alive, and aligned with what you were called to do. And what you were called to do, no one else can do it. Not like you. Not with your soul. Not with your scars, your fight, your fire. You were given your vision for a reason. And comparing it to another's is like a lion trying to fly, because the eagle looks impressive in the sky. You are not here to fly like an eagle. You're here to roar like a storm, to break ground with every step, to shake the earth with your presence. But you'll never do that if you keep dimming your roar to whisper in someone else's echo chamber. Let the world race. Let them chase timelines, followers, numbers, approval. But you chase mastery. You chase meaning. You chase the version of yourself that wakes up with purpose and goes to bed with pride, because that's the only comparison that matters. Who were you yesterday? And who are you becoming today? Let your only rival be your own potential. Let your only competition be the distance between where you are and where you're called to go. So stop asking if you're good enough. Stop checking the scoreboard of someone else's life. You were never meant to play their game. Success is not about getting there first. It's about staying loyal to the right destination. And you cannot stay loyal to your path while staring at theirs. There's a weight you're carrying not because life handed it to you, but because you picked it up the moment you believed that someone else's success meant less of yours. That is the lie comparison sells, that there is not enough greatness to go around. But the truth, greatness is infinite. Purpose is personal. And your place in the world was never a limited seat at someone else's table. You were born to build your own. Look at Thomas Edison. 10,000 failures, not one comparison. Do you think he sat there asking why others succeeded faster? Number. He obsessed over the problem. He focused on the solution. And the world changed because one man refused to look sideways. That's what focus does. It sharpens your mind like a blade. It silences the noise. It takes your energy and concentrates it not in 1,000 directions, but in one. And with that, even the impossible becomes inevitable. But when you live in comparison, you dilute your gift. You divide your power. You spend your strength watching, not working. And the world doesn't change because of watchers. It changes because of builders, of doers, of people so aligned with their own vision, they have no time to envy another's. Listen to me. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not invisible. You are simply in the process. The becoming, the sacred grind that no one applauds, but one day everyone will admire. But only if you don't quit. Only if you don't compare. Only if you stay in your lane, with your eyes on your calling and your heart on fire. Walt Disney once pitched his idea for a theme park to 300 investors. And 300 said no. 300 said, this is unrealistic. 300 said, others have tried and failed. He could have stopped. He could have looked at the world and asked, why do their dreams come easier? But he didn't. He chose instead to listen to one voice, his own. That voice wasn't louder. It wasn't always certain, but it was his. And because he trusted it, the world now has a kingdom built on imagination. What about you? Whose voice are you listening to? Whose life are you measuring yours against? And how long will you let that measurement shrink your power? You do not need their pace. You need your rhythm. You need your clarity. You need your silence. Because in that silence, your inner voice grows louder. And when your voice becomes louder than the world's noise, that's when the fire starts. That's when direction returns. That's when decisions become sharp and progress becomes personal. You're not too late. You're not too slow. You're right on time for the life you were built to lead. But you must protect your mind like a fortress. Comparison is not just a bad habit. It is a siege. It creeps in and dismantles your confidence from the inside. And if you let it stay, it will rewrite the story of your life in someone else's font. Don't let that happen. You are the author. You are the architect. You are the spark that turns belief into creation. But only when you stop looking through the window and start looking in the mirror. Because here's the ultimate truth about comparison. It never ends. No matter how high you climb, there's always someone ahead. But greatness was never about being ahead. It was about becoming whole. It was about building a life that feels like yours. And no one can compare with that. You must begin to see your life not as a competition, but as a composition, a symphony being written day by day, note by note, choice by choice. And every great symphony is unique. It doesn't matter how loud someone else plays. It matters how true your sound is. Comparison robs you of that sound. It convinces you to mimic instead of compose. But you were never made to echo. You were made to create. There is a version of you that is free from the need to outperform, free from the addiction to other people's progress, free from the fear that your pace isn't fast enough. That version of you is not imaginary. It's already inside you. It's waiting for you to reclaim it. To reclaim it, you have to let go. Let go of the false timelines. Let go of the imaginary scoreboard. Let go of the belief that your life must look like theirs to matter. Your journey isn't late. It's precise. It's divine. It's being sculpted in silence because some masterpieces are carved in the dark before anyone sees their light. Think of Henry Ford. He didn't invent the car, he invented the system that put the world behind a wheel. And while others raced to compete on luxury, he focused on scale, on impact, on accessibility. He wasn't looking sideways. He was looking forward. And that's the key. Stop living laterally. Live forward. Live upward. Live inward. Lateral living is comparison. Vertical living is growth. Every time you measure yourself against someone else, you're trading your altitude for approval. But growth, real growth, doesn't need approval. It just needs alignment. So align with your core. Align with your calling. Align with the future that only you can see. That future doesn't care if others got there faster. It only cares if you arrive fully awake, fully ready, fully you. You have to choose depth over display. We live in a world obsessed with visibility. But visibility without authenticity is empty. It's a loud parade going nowhere. What you build quietly in your character, what you strengthen in the shadows, that is what makes you unstoppable in the light. You don't need more applause. You need more alignment. You don't need more eyes on you. You need more fire in you. Because when you're truly aligned, you no longer need to compare. You outgrow the urge to compare. You start to trust the delays. You start to respect the detours. You realize that slow progress is still progress. That quiet seasons are still sacred. That your timeline isn't broken, it's tailored. You weren't built for a generic life. You were built for something rare, something meaningful, something forged by intentional design, not external validation. And let me tell you what happens when you stop comparing. You begin, really begin, not halfway, not with doubt in your gut and someone else's face in your head, but with both feet planted in your truth, with clarity, with conviction, with courage. That's when momentum finds you. That's when doors open that comparison would have never let you see. Because comparison makes you blind to your blessings, but clarity makes you a magnet for everything that belongs to you. And what belongs to you will not miss you. But you can't miss it if you're too busy chasing someone else's finish line. So today, right now, you choose. Do you keep scrolling through someone else's chapter? Or do you start writing yours? Do you keep asking, why am I not there yet? Or do you start declaring, I am exactly where I'm meant to be and I'm building something unstoppable? Because you are. If only you'd stop turning your head. If only you'd stop dividing your focus. If only you start treating your life like the miracle that it is. This is your time to reclaim the pen, to silence the noise, to come back to center, to say, I no longer measure my worth by what others have done. I define it by what I will do. Because the truth is, you don't need to be ahead of anyone. You just need to be ahead of who you were yesterday. And if you are even by one step, one breath, one act of courage, then you are winning the only race that ever mattered. You don't rise by chasing their fire. You rise by igniting your own. And that fire, it's not gone. It's just been buried under layers of doubt, of timelines that were never yours, of goals you picked up because you thought you should, not because your soul burned for them. But fire doesn't die. It waits. It waits for the moment you stop running in circles and start walking with purpose. It waits for the moment you quit performing for the world and begin showing up for yourself. It waits for the day you say, I will no longer measure my life by the applause of strangers. I will measure it by the strength of my alignment. You were not created to be a mirror. You were made to be a light. Mirrors reflect other people's greatness. Lights create their own. And the world doesn't need more reflections, it needs more originals. It needs you. And so I ask you now, what would your life look like if you never compared it again? What could you build? What would you dare to attempt? What vision would finally have room to breathe? How many moments have passed you by, not because you weren't ready, but because you were too distracted by someone else's moment? Let that question haunt you, not to hurt you, but to wake you, because the truth is, comparison isn't just a thief. It's a grave. And every time you choose it, you bury your intuition, your originality, your clarity 1 inch deeper. But the moment you stop, the moment you pull your attention back home, back to your soul, you begin the resurrection. You come alive again, not as a replica, not as a follower, but as a force, unshakable, unrepeatable, undeniable. Because when you own your lane, the world has no choice but to notice the speed and silence of your greatness. There's no traffic in your lane, no noise, no competition, just you and the divine blueprint of everything you were born to become. Do not look left. Do not look right. Look forward and then look inward, because that's where every miracle begins. Not in the eyes of your rivals, but in the depths of your own mind, in that quiet decision where you say, I will no longer betray my greatness by chasing someone else's. That decision is not loud. It doesn't need to be, because true power doesn't shout, it radiates. And the moment you let go of comparison, your power returns. Your joy returns. Your momentum returns. Your mind clears. Your breath deepens. Your heart beats louder. Not with panic, but with purpose. You begin to move not to keep up with them, but to keep your promise to the future version of you that's been waiting. Because the truth is, your destiny is delayed every time you forget who you are. Every time you doubt your gift. Every time you measure your worth in someone else's currency. But not anymore. Now today, you choose something different. You choose sovereignty over spectatorship, presence over performance, creation over comparison. You don't owe the world conformity. You owe it your brilliance. So let them have their pace. Let them have their stage. Let them have their spotlight. You have something better. A mission forged in fire. A voice tuned in silence. A path no one else can walk. And when you honor that, when you walk that path with fierce focus and sacred discipline, the world won't just see your success. They'll feel your truth. They'll feel your presence. They'll feel your courage. They'll feel something they can't explain, because it won't be imitation. It will be authentic power. And that kind of power, it doesn't compete. It creates. So now, breathe. Let go of the weight. Forgive yourself for ever thinking you had to keep up with them. You never did. You only had to wake up and keep showing up for yourself. Because the truth about comparison is this: it ends the moment you remember who you are.